was out, they pulled me back in.
Welcome to the Abuki Cabal Show.
What's up, y'all? I wanted to talk to you guys about my latest adventures with Lapeef. Let's talk. So JR did a show on whether black men are too emotional. And I guess this was brought up by the Sweetie and Quavo situation, and the Migos jumping on Justin LaBoy. So it was a pretty interesting show. There was some interesting developments, some different kind of perspectives going on in the show. As always, you know, JR doesn't disappoint. Anton, Tawana, you know, and the newest member, Courtney. Courtney tends to gravitate towards the guy's perspective. It's a little refreshing. I think a much needed change, I think, to the show, to get a female perspective that tends to at least be a little bit more empathetic and understanding towards men's perspective. So, you know, basically, the way the show kind of went was, you know, the question was asked whether men are in check, have their emotions in check, or whether they are ruled by their emotions. And, you know, the Migos went and basically jumped on a guy because of some developments on the show that Sweetie was on. And, you know, apparently Quavo instigated it. So, you know, they jumped this young guy. He doesn't look like he, I don't know, he could put up much of a fight, you know, but I think we are seeing a bit more emotion out of men nowadays, especially, you know, younger guys. Courtney tends to think that this is brought about due to, you know, the young men being raised by single mothers and being around emotional, you know, feminine energy, and leaning towards emulating what they see when they're raised. And she went on to say that emotions supersede logic in this type of situation, and these boys don't see how men would normally handle situations like this. And I tend to agree with Courtney. I can see that. I can definitely see that. Anton couldn't relate to Courtney's position, and he tended to believe that the behavior was brought about because these guys basically led with their emotions and let their money basically dictate their position in life. And you know how Anton is. Anton is all about his purpose, and Anton tends to stick to his narrative and his perspective on it. Now, I agree with a lot of what Anton says, and I just think that he sometimes has some problems articulating his position with regard to how we should follow what he's trying to project. Anton has the same slogan, being a better version of yourself, and he's marketing that. That's his brand. And there's a lot of focus on branding, with regard to Anton's, because Anton is about the bag. Anton pretty much stuck to that throughout the show, and but he did say that relating to the behavior, that you should never lead with your emotions. If you lead with your emotions as a man, you're going to fail. It's going to lead to negative results. And I tend to agree with Anton. You can never make moves in life, in war, in business, in even relationships. I would dare say that you should not lead with your emotions. If you do, you will not end up running that situation. That situation will be run by the person that you are attempting to handle accordingly in that situation. If you're angry because somebody's pissed you off, sometimes they piss you off so that you'll show your hand. Sometimes women come to you with beauty and everything's sweet and nice, and that is to manipulate you into a position where you will do her bidding, essentially. I mean, and they don't want to, give you that. And when you're young, you really don't see that that's what's going on, but that's kind of what's going on. Everybody moves in life, in business, to basically manipulate the other side to put themselves in a position that is favorable to them and not to their adversary. So in that regard, I think that Anton is totally correct. If you look at your relationship like a business, like he says, transactional, and that sounds distasteful, but I can relate. It is transactional, and it does kind of give you a certain, feeling in your stomach to kind of, relate to or describe it as transactional, but in truth it is. So Chicago Rilla, another guest on the show, also in the Facebook group, he basically describes the separation between the image that Quavo and the Migos are putting up, and it's an androgynous look. It doesn't look real masculine. And they talk about that a little bit too, but that tendency to overcompensate I see is kind of necessary, because when you walking around in fruity shirts and whatnot and tight jeans and looking like an amalgamation between man and woman, you're gonna have to stand on your square. You're gonna have to basically defend your position and overcompensate. You're gonna have to puff up a little bit, and I can understand that. It's a natural response in nature. But is that gonna be something that's gonna be looked upon as favorable by your peers? Other men don't look at that in the same way as some of these younger women. some of these younger women, they might gravitate towards that because they tend to think that they think that's the behavior of a person who moves people and things in the world. But that's not, that's the reaction of a person who's powerless, trying to look powerful. The person you're gonna have to watch is a person who doesn't show his hand, doesn't show his emotions. That's kind of what they were trying to convey, and I agree with that. I mean, I feel like a man should always be in control of himself in order to create something from nothing, to be able to survey his battlefield and move accordingly. So back to Chicago Gorilla. Like I said, he was talking about the separation between, the brand and the real life individual. And, he talked about where Quavo was from, and essentially there was no real hood activity going on in that part of Georgia, apparently. So he called him on that. He's putting forth an image that is that reeks of that type of behavior, but anyone that's from there knows that's not what takes place where he's from. It's more akin to or aligned with the football player and the pro, the star quarterback, varsity guy, So he talked about that a little bit, and he said that all this type of puffing up and behavior is basically causing these young cats to basically, shoot up the block and fight over bullshit, essentially. And I agree. We seeing that all over the country. With the, the prevalence of social media, people are, emulating these types of behaviors because it's like, watching, a baby elephant, male elephant watching a bull elephant, protect and, fight off other bulls, for dominance. He's going to emulate that behavior. But if you're watching, some fruity shirt wearing guys and guys fighting over women and, wearing, diamond encrusted, teeth covers and all of that, then, you're going to emulate that. You're going to come up not knowing what a real man looks like, so then you're going to have people out here, and even women. You have women out here, saying that if you dress like, say Kevin Samuels or say like, Sean Connery when he was older and, still dressing up for GQ and Esquire and whatnot, these women nowadays, these modern women basically are calling these guys, gay and, not knowing how to carry themselves around people who basically are confident, who portray themselves in a way that is, masculine and manly. If you're a guy, you're going to want to sit and learn from a guy like that. You're not going to want to, sit around some old cats looking like the Migos with gray, dreads and fruity shirts on with their abs out and shit, trying to learn the lay of the land. You know what I mean? So, Anton, goes back in and, he talks about, well, I take that back. Let's go back to Chicago Gorilla. Chicago Gorilla was talking about, how he grew up and how he had to endure a lot of, female energy in his household. And basically, he told a story about his uncle and how, He was taught that, a man is never supposed to cry, never supposed to show any kind of weakness. And throughout his life, he never cried. You could whoop him as hard as you wanted to, and for as long as you wanted to, and he would never give in. And I knew people in life that was like that. I might have went through a little spurt of that myself when I was growing up. I got a cousin that's, it's just like that. You can beat the hell out of him, and he's not going to show anything, and he's still hard headed to this day. Grown ass man, so these things that we learn as young men, excuse me, tends to have an effect on us. So he basically says that because of this upbringing that he had, from these women in his family, that he was unable to show emotion in a way that was healthy. And he felt that if a man was put into this position, he would never be able to express himself in a way that would be good. And I agree somewhat, but then on the other end of that, I kind of disagree. A man should be able to handle his emotions. Let me get to the part that I agree with. The part that I agree with is that yes, you have to have a friend, and he said this also, a friend, counselor, or counseling, something of that nature for you to be able to express, to have an outlet, a healthy outlet for these emotions. That I agree with 110%, because we are taught as we grow up that we shouldn't tell anybody anything that's going on in our lives. We shouldn't discuss anything, keep our business to ourselves. So we tend to keep everything inside, and we self-destruct from inside. No one ever knows that we're dying inside because we don't tell anybody, when what we should do is we should find someone that we can talk to. You always find someone you can talk to. We used to say, go to your pastor. I say no pastors, no religious, prefects or any of that. You need to go to somebody that you pay to keep your secrets. That's the only way that your secrets will stay safe, and you'll get information that is objective. You don't want any unrealistic idealism or information to be pumped into your head to where you make a decision based off of pie in the sky, whatever the case may be. And I'm not anti-religion. I'm just saying that I have seen situations where religious people have pointed people in the wrong direction because they didn't have the training necessary to make a proper decision in that case, with a situation that was medical, psychological, and not philosophical in nature, philosophical and religious in nature. So I think that's important. Okay, so we're gonna move on to what Anton said, that basically he allows people who have these flawed viewpoints to basically come back from their bad decisions. So if they come to him, he essentially has the power to basically tap them on the head the way they are requesting. But he takes the high road and he says, okay, I'm just going to step back. I'm going to let them, think about the decision that they made. Think about, what they said or whatever it is that they did. And, in life, sometimes you have to eat crow, and you have to come back and say, you know what, that was a bad thing I did, and you have to be a man about it and say, hey, that was not the right, move to make in that situation. So Anton, I think, and I think it's admirable and commendable that he takes that position, you know, and I agree with it. I wholeheartedly agree with it. So he goes on to say that, you know, a man should never fight over a woman, and I agree with that as well. You know, if your woman is out of pocket, you know, if she's doing something that is not conforming to your program, you know, the way you carry yourself, the way you run your household, you know, then you have to handle that situation, you know. But, you know, where I disagree with them is basically, you know, Anton takes the position that you're a beta if she doesn't follow you. And, you know, I would basically point him towards some literature on leadership, you know, Sun Tzu, maybe some other military courses on leadership, and just, you know, focus on what it takes in order to instill the ability to follow orders and directions without question, and what it takes for you to do that. And unfortunately, out here, you know, we as black men, we know we don't really have the same kind of power that we used to have with regard to maintaining order and discipline amongst those we are tasked with taking care of, providing for, and whatnot, you know? So, I mean, as you read about these things, you know, you'll see that basically people don't just follow people. You know, you can come up and go, hey, follow me. And they can look at you. You can be the most muscular guy. You can be the most charismatic guy. But you know what? The majority of the people are not going to follow you. They're going to be like, you know what? Why should I follow you? And that's where the hard part comes in. You have to show them why they should follow you. And it's not because you're getting the bag or you're wearing nice clothes and whatnot. It's not about that, you know. But you got to go through some things before you see that, you know, leadership is more than just being charismatic and, you know, the fluff that a lot of these people, especially people on YouTube, you know, they put out there. They, you know, have these slogans and whatnot, you know. And if you do that kind of stuff, yeah, it sounds good, you know. And people who are accomplished, yeah, they're accomplished, but you know, what works for them may not work for you, you know. And that's where you have, you know, all this alpha and beta and all of that. And we'll get into that, you know, in the next one. But that's kind of, you know, my thought process on that. And that's not to take anything away from Anton. I think he's headed in the right direction, and he's informing people about a lot of things and how they should carry themselves. You know, I follow Anton too. You know, I check out his material, and I think there's a lot there. And I think if you haven't, I think you should get in on it. But like I said, he said, don't fight over a woman. And like I said, you should never fight over a woman, because if she's out there doing something, it's because that's what she chose to do. It's not because anybody made her do it. It's because that's what she chose to do. So if you're out there and you're out of pocket because that's what you want to do. So what you do is you leave her where she is. You know? You can't make a grown person do anything that they don't want to do without significant force. Let me just say that. And I'm not advocating that, because, you know, I'm not into that. You know, nor would I advocate that to anybody. I'm not going to force you to do anything. You know, if I say duck because, you know, just because, you don't know why I'm saying duck. You know, I am of the mind that if you don't duck and that thing that's coming from behind you chops your head off, you got what you deserve. And I will feel nothing with regard to the ramifications or the results of your inaction. Let me just say that. So, ladies, when you choose to not follow a man because of these fictitious things in your head, it's because of that we're seeing all of this failure out here. You know, some of you guys are making it, you're succeeding. I mean, it's success in your own head until, you know, the finish line catches up with you or the wall, you know? So, moving along. So we move into Tawana. So Tawana basically says that, you know, she doesn't like the fact that the guys are basically acting, you know, like women. And, you know, she agrees that the Migos and Quavo were acting catty and, you know, feminine, you know, weak, you know, and that they were playing alpha is what she called it. You know, she said Quavo was a crybaby and, you know, caused this, you know, this fight situation and jumped on the TV personality guy, you know, rapper, you know, whatever he does, you know. So they go on to change, you know, Tawana's, you know, she's good at changing the, you know, the landscape or the question, you know, to fit another, you know, another direction that she wants to go. So, you know, she asked the question, well, does the way a man dress determine whether he is, you know, an alpha or a beta? And, you know, I would say it's not about necessarily how you dress, but, you know, dressing is one aspect of it. You have to carry yourself in a way that's respectful. And when you carry yourself in a way that's respectful, people will act accordingly before you even open your mouth. You know, there's a certain gravitas that an alpha male presents when he walks in the room. You know, a person with that type of gravitas does not have to speak. He just moves through that environment and the environment moves accordingly. That's, like I said, that's one aspect of it, you know. And then when he speaks, you know, he speaks about things that matter. It's not just a bunch of idle conversation and, you know, just a bunch of bullshit, you know. So that's a waste of time for a person who is a purpose-minded person, you know. But sometimes, you know, an alpha person in every aspect of what he does, he's not trying to make money. You know, sometimes alpha men have to relax also, just like every other man. So sometimes going into a situation, you know, is purely recreational for him, you know. And recreation for an alpha male is not the same as recreation for a regular guy, you know. Whether he's playing poker, you know, he's, you know, smoking a cigar with other, you know, men of his stature, you know, there is a certain form of verbal and mental exercising that goes on that basically strengthens their mental and psychological muscles, you know, and they use that when they go back into these other situations in order to make the appropriate moves to make money, you know. But once you have money, then making money is not necessarily a must. It's something that you do, and there's money you play with, and then there's money that you just have, you know. So that's a part of being smart. But, you know, Anton can tell you a little bit more about that, and some other guys, you know, Kevin can tell you a little bit about that. You know, I'm just a regular guy, you know. But, you know, so Tawana goes on to say that she doesn't think that the way a guy dresses, you know, is necessarily the that that's the case, and that a guy can be alpha, I guess, dressing in an androgynous way. So then she goes off into Prince and, Michael Jackson and all of that. And, she, basically knocks on Prince for supposedly, dating a 16-year-old or, and, it was like, damn, then wow, how does that, what does that have to do with anything, and why is it that this type of rhetoric keeps coming up? That's a whole nother, tender spot for me, but everybody's trying to make every man into a chaser of teenagers now. So I was a little taken back by that. I thought Tawana was a little bit better than that. But, nowadays, saying somebody's a pedophile is like, it's fashionable, even though they don't know what the definition of pedophilia is. So, moving along, Tawana, disagrees and says she thinks it doesn't matter how the man dresses. He can dress any way he wants. He can wear fluffy shirts. He can wear, Victorian, blouses, whatever, he wants. He can look like, the Migos over there, whatever. And, she says that she's basically, she's dated guys like that. But, I don't know. I kind of fell off at that point. So Chicago Rilla comes back in. And he basically says that you'll know if a person is alpha, by the presence. When you're in the presence of one, you'll know. And this, it goes back to what I was saying. And he talks more about if a man doesn't have a healthy outlet. Counseling, friend, like I said, it will end up badly, for the guy. And, it was an entertaining show. I really enjoyed it. I will put a link in for you guys to watch the full show. And I hope you guys enjoy it too. I hope you guys will support JR. I mean, it's a great show. You guys, they have a pretty big following. And you guys ought to go and go to Facebook and get in this group. I believe in supporting other channels. I think, JR, Tawana, Anton, they have a great platform. They're about to start touring. And I think you guys ought to jump on board and support these guys. Give them some, go ahead and do some donations. Make sure that, they get what they need to get out there and start the next big thing. I think they're going to be it. I guess that's all I got. You guys like, share, and subscribe.
You are listening to Abuki Cabal, the analytical savage.
I feel like a